If you'll now stand and join me, I'd like to offer the invocation, and then we will say the pledge. Before we pray, I just thought I'd mention a couple of introductory remarks. In 1848, Mrs. Cecil Alexander published a book she called Hymns for Little Children. Included in the book was a hymn which is considered somewhat of an ode to spring. So I think the hymn, All Things Bright and Beautiful, make for a nice invocation for this time of year. So please bow your heads. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, he made their glowing colors, he made their tiny wings. The purple-headed mountain, the river running by, the sunset and the morning that brightens up the sky. The tall trees in the greenwood, the meadows where we play, the rushes by the water we gather every day. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Amen. Please now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Shell, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you today our guest and visiting Rotarians. If you would, please stand when I call your name. Steve Cochran, guest of Scott Stevens. Matthew Hoffman, guest of the club. Michelle Keller, guest of the club. Sarah Schwartz, guest of John Kent. Amanda Rice, guest of Amy Randall. Kaylin Banshoff, guest of Susie Tumblin. Caleb Avery, guest of the club. Tanika Chappelle, guest of the club. Teresa Madison, also guest of the club. Victor Madison, guest of the club. Geraldine Madison, also guest of the club. Andrew Madison, also guest of the club. Ray Lattimore, guest of the club. Awesome. John Michaela, guest of the club. Thank you. George Singleton, guest of the club. Sabrina Reeder, also guest of the club. Bill Donahue, guest of Charlie Hall. Lisa Vermillion, guest of the club. Emma Francis, guest of Marty Elliott. And our visiting Rotarian, Mr. Frank Cox, guest of Clemson Sunrise. Thank you.
It's exciting to hear so many guests, and Victor, I have a feeling that a number of them are here to support you today. So in addition to the new guests, we also have newer Rotarians that we'd like to officially welcome. So 3 are in the room, 2 are on Zoom. So if I call the 3, Rebecca Duncan, Sean Savage, and Thomas Sanders, if you could come join me up to this side, please. So I'm just going to give you a little background. Then online with us, we have John Heers and William Harwood. So Rebecca is a community association manager with CAMS Management. Her family, she's been married for 18 years, a husband, 2 sons, 17 and 18. And she is a Greenville native, not so common anymore. So we welcome you, and her sponsor were Bob Howard and Terry Weaver. Then we have Sean Savage, Sean in the middle. Sean is a banker of Travelers Rest. He has a wife of 19 years, Megan, and it's interesting, is your passion cooking and classic cars. And I believe your sponsor was Rance Bryan. Rance has also brought a lot of guests, so it's nice to have a new Rotarian through Rance. Thank you. And then Thomas Sanders is a technology consultant, has a wife, Fran, son, Tommy, and doing his passion, doing what I can to help people have better lives. His sponsor is George Fletcher. And just want to acknowledge that, you know, all of us, right, the mission of Rotary is to do good in the world. We're all passionate about making a difference, and that is a common theme that we're hearing. We also have on Zoom John Heers. He's a master's history from Columbia, teaching and the founder of First Things, which is a nonprofit which focuses on poverty alleviation. He has a wife, Helen, of 25 years, 4 daughters who are all artists. He said weirdly, but I don't think that's so weird. And his passion is building ways to connect people at the top with people on the bottom. And I was his sponsor. And the last new member is William Harwood. William is a financial advisor. His parents are Bill and Karen Harwood, and he does have a sister, Savannah Harwood. His sponsor was Scott Stevens, and he just relocated to Greenville in August. So hopefully through our program today, hearing Victor's story a bit, inspiration, getting a sense of our community, right? The things that we're doing to make a difference in our community will help keep you active and wanting to be engaged in our club. The next meeting, you will have blue buttons, badges in the inbox, slide man, a little bit behind. But officially, we'd like to welcome you and welcome the 2 members online to our club. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wade Colt, president-elect of this club. I'm delighted to be speaking to you this afternoon to remind you about this major event of our club coming up next month, the Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference, which will be at the Greenville Convention Center on May 12th. We will not have our initial meeting in May in lieu of this conference. So our next regular meeting will be the second meeting in May. I believe that'll be on the 26th. This is a major event, and a lot of work has gone into it. They have done an amazing job of getting registrants. They've done an amazing job of getting speakers. They've done an amazing job of getting sponsors. Listen to this speaker list, and this is just a few of them. Deb Moore, Knox White, Jerry Blassingame, Jim Dant, Chantel Babb, and Jaden Beek, one of our Service Above Self scholars. All of these folks will be participating in the conference, moderating. I couldn't think of a more timely topic in our world that is currently just riven with strife and conflict, Ukraine perhaps being the most notable example. And so the theme, finding peace in a world full of conflict and bias, is an important one for us all to be attentive to. And the great news is, we still have registrations available that have been funded by this club. So if you're in this club, you have no excuse. You need to be there on May 12th. Now, this is one of the other cool things that's going on. I said we've gotten great sponsors. WSPA television station is our presenting sponsor this year. They've given us some fabulous support. And if you watch that channel regularly, you'll know Taylor Murray is one of the broadcasters there. She is going to be the MC for the conference. And actually, in connection with this, they've started a new series of conversations that are called Community Conversations that come on the news at 7, 10, and 11. And those initial conversations have featured 3 of our upcoming speakers at the conference. So I want to give you a sense. We've gotten really good at doing this in this club, free publicity through local news media. We're carrying that tradition ahead. We did it with Greenville Holiday Village, and now we're doing it with the Peace Conference. So I want to give you a sense right now of what you can see on WSPA and what our upstate community is seeing as well. So I'm going to try to.
7 News is launching a new series called Community Conversations. Throughout this series, we will be sitting down for one-on-one conversations with leaders, influencers, innovators, change agents, and the movers and shakers of the upstate community on topics that matter to you. I recently spoke with Reverend Deb Richardson Moore about bias against the homeless in our first Community Conversations. Reverend Deb Richardson Moore is one of more than a dozen community leaders that will speak at the upcoming Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference hosted by the Rotary Club of Greenville. The annual conference will be held on May 12th at the Greenville Convention Center. This year's theme is Finding Peace in a World Full of Conflict and Bias. And I will serve as Master of Ceremonies. Looking forward to that. If you're interested in attending, you can find a link to register on the conference website, peaceandconflictresolution.com.
Okay, so that was a teaser. We didn't show you Deb Moore. You have to show up for the conference to see her. But you get a sense of the fabulous work that this committee has been doing, and I hope you get a sense of how exciting this conference is going to be. Judy Prince, many others in the committee have been working hard to put it together. Please be there on May the 12th. Thanks.
I'm Judith Prince, co-chair of the Rotary Service Above Self Selection Committee. Dee Kivett is with us, the other co-chair. Bert Strange, one of our members of the selection committee. We have such a wonderful, exciting announcement to make. In 2014, this Rotary Club made an ambitious and bold leap forward in its scholarship program. The club decided to award $5,000 a year to one scholar for a total of $20,000 over a 4-year period instead of 5 $1,000 scholarships each year. Along with that, we determined that we would go in a different direction. In addition to looking for those scholars with extraordinary academic records, we would add another component to the selection, and that was community service. This new scholar would be mentored by a Rotarian, and as much as possible with a college student, we would bring that student into the Rotary family by involving them in meetings, involving them in some of our service projects. The club funded the scholarship through fundraising activities and through a personal $50 contribution from each member each year. All of our Rotarians have a part in this scholarship. The Rotary Service Above Self Scholarship was born 8 years ago. In that 8 years, we have had some extraordinary scholars. A young woman who graduated from Clemson and went to the Peace Corps in Malawi. A young woman who was homeless and went on to graduate from Furman and then to Wake Forest to get an accounting degree, a master's degree in accounting, and is now with Ernst & Young. A young man who I say has come full circle. He's now a member of this club and is performing service activities in this club. A young man who has just been named valedictorian of the College of Engineering at Clemson. A marvelous young woman who was summa cum laude at Southern Wesleyan. And there are more. We've got a neurosurgeon out there. Lots of wonderful stories. I could not take the time to recount the wonderful service activities in which they've been involved. So just when we thought it couldn't get any better, it did. We have our very first future astrophysicist. Woo! It's hard for me even to say the word. Our 2022 Rotary Service Above Self Scholar is Victor Madison Jr. VJ is our 9th scholar, and he was unanimously selected, as you will certainly see why, by a committee from a stellar group of applicants, stellar group. Victor is a senior at Malden High School with a 5.275 average, ranking 11 out of 536 graduates. He has excelled in science and mathematics. I counted 10 advanced placement courses on his transcript, all with high A's. I didn't even bother trying to count the honors courses. That just gives you a little snapshot of his academic accomplishment. Victor's service includes working with organizations to feed the hungry and in supplying veterans with daycare packages. But his unique and impressive service is in another area. Victor's parents have a dance studio, and Victor has been dancing since he was 5. Victor has combined dancing with mentoring as part of his service in the community. He says he has personally witnessed the impact that dance can have on one's life. In his essay, he wrote about how dance improves strength and muscle development, which is especially important at a time when children and adolescents spend so much time with digital media. He talked about how dance relieves stress, even in these rough times, how it helps increase self-esteem. To quote Victor, when combined with mentoring, dancing can help students figure out who they are. As a volunteer, Victor taught dance at Sterling School every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for an entire year. And at the end of the school year, the students presented a program illustrating what they had learned. As to his future goals, Victor says in his essay, astrophysicists can answer many unknown questions. He likes asking and answering questions, but I'm going to let Victor tell you about his future plans and about his future service. Victor, would you please come forward? On behalf of all Rotarians in this Rotary Club, every Rotarian in here has contributed to this scholarship program. I introduce our 2022 Rotary Service Above Self Scholar. Would you please accept this class? Hands. Thank you. Congratulations, Victor.
Thank
We
you.
are so excited
Yes,
to
ma'am.
welcome you to Rotary.
I'm so excited to be a part. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, that's my bad. So, of course, thank you, Dr. Prince, for that warm introduction to the Rotary Club of Greenville and its members present, to the Scholarship Selection Committee, Dr. Burt, Dr. Kiven, Dr. Prince. A very special thank you for selecting yours truly as a 2022 Service Above Self Scholar. I would also like to acknowledge my parents, Teresa and Victor Madison, my grandparents, family members, friends, and mentors who are present on my behalf today. I am tremendously honored and humbled to stand before this prestigious organization to receive this Service Above Self scholarship. To those who do not know, Service Above Self was a motto that came out of a conversation between two Rotarians at the 1911 National Rotary Convention in Portland, Oregon. It wasn't until 1950 that it was officially adopted by Rotary with a slight modification at the International Rotary Convention in Detroit, Michigan. As I think about this very moment, why you and I are here, it is because Rotary is paying it forward. They are cultivating the seeds of selflessness that will blossom into the fruitful trees of service. I have been fortunate enough to be a part of multiple organizations such as National Beta Club, National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, and Kappa League that have helped me cultivate my seeds of service to my school and my community. Some of these services include teaching dance to both children and adults, providing food to the hungry, providing daycare packages for veterans, and helping the less fortunate kids with gifts during Christmas. Additionally, my service above self has been nourished over the many years that I have taught and tutored students in their academic lessons thanks to my parents' after-school business. Later this year, as I transition from my high school years to my college life at Clemson University, I look to immerse myself in the physics curriculum. It is my plan to continue my education and obtain a master's and possibly a PhD in astrophysics. Receiving this prestigious award will help remove some of the financial barriers that would otherwise make it more difficult in my academic journey. Now, I can be more selective of where and to what I devote my time, which will allow me to invest into more of those service above self community endeavors. Once again, many thanks to the Rotary Club of Greenville. I look forward to representing you all as your 2022 Service Above Self Scholar. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pamela Evette is the 93rd Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina and the first female Republican governor, Lieutenant Governor of our state. As an entrepreneur and a businesswoman, Lieutenant Governor Evette founded Quality Business Solutions, a payroll, HR, and benefits services firm headquartered in Travelers Rest right here in the upstate. Under her leadership, QBS grew from a startup to one of the nation's fastest growing small businesses. Evette has received numerous business and professional accolades, including the Athena Leadership Award and the Enterprising Woman of the Year Award. Since taking office in January of 2019, Lieutenant Governor Evette has been laser focused on utilizing her professional background to serve the people and businesses of South Carolina. She has dedicated her time to highlighting South Carolina's thriving small business ecosystem and attracting new business to the Palmetto State. And she is a staunch promoter of innovative public-private partnerships. And she has also worked to bring awareness to South Carolina nonprofits and the impact that they have to our local communities. Beyond business, Lieutenant Governor Evette has a passion for serving others and has guided her focus on early childhood education and reading, which is near and dear to our hearts. In 2019, she was asked to join the 6th cohort of Hunt King Leadership Fellows Program, which focuses on state education policy. Lieutenant Governor Evette is also a vocal supporter of South Carolina's world-class technical college system as a pathway to career success. It's my honor and privilege to present Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how amazing it is to be in the upstate today, so close to home. One day that I don't have to travel the state makes it really nice, let me tell you. But before I get started to tell you about all the great things that are happening in South Carolina, if I could have your district governor, Frank Cox, come up. Well, Bill, wonderful to meet you. Well, I'm going to read your accolades here. You got to come up here so everybody can hear about you. Well, on Tuesday, April 29th, 1952, Bill Raines attended his first meeting of the Rotary Club of Greenville. He was immediately drafted and unable to attend meetings for his first 3 years of membership. Rotary seems to be in Bill Raines' blood. Bill's father was a member of our club. 2 of Bill's uncles were members of Rotary. Bill's daughter Laura is a member of the club. Bill's daughter Pam was a charter member and president of the Golden Strip Club. Bill is a Paul Harris Fellow, a sustaining member, has served on the board of directors, has helped clean up the Mainstream Park. Now that's very near and dear to me. I have an initiative too. Volunteered with Holiday Lights and helped with countless other service projects over the years. Bill has recently been recognized as a Shaker Meta and Rotary International President for 70 years in the Rotary Club of Greenville with 67 years of perfect attendance. That's amazing. That is amazing. If you will all please join me by standing and giving him some applause for his achievements. Thank you. This is from Rotary to you. Thank you. Thank you for the example.
What an honor to be presented this by you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. I think they want to.
This is 70 years. 70 years of wonderful service. Yes, sir.
This way? This way. Well, that is definitely a tough act to follow. A nuclear physicist and a wonderful public servant who's helped for 70 years. Thank you so much, Bill, for all your service, and congratulations to you. I'm going to be watching you. South Carolina is proud of you to have one of its own do so incredibly well. Well, I am Pamela Evette, the 93rd Lieutenant Governor of the great state of South Carolina. It's wonderful to be here with you all today. Wanted to share a little bit about the wonderful things that are happening in our state. So it's been a long time. COVID has really kept us apart for a long time. And so it's great to be back with you. I think it was probably in 2019 when I was here the last time. So you can imagine how much I could share with you about what's happened over the last few years. South Carolina is in a great position. If you listen to the governor's state of the state, we are taking off. South Carolina was one of the very last states to touch the brakes east of the Mississippi when COVID came along, and we were the first to open up. And we did this because we knew how important manufacturing was to our state, how important it was to allow businesses to be able to run, giving them the right information they needed to keep their employees safe. And what that did for our state will be a testament for years to come. Businesses from around the globe, not just around the country, are now looking at South Carolina. Because we all know, being business people, that if you look at any commerce website, they will tell you that they are a business-friendly state. But South Carolina walked the walk that they talked. And we know we made the right decisions because in 2020, Knut Floor, the outgoing president of BMW, said that BMW had record years in profit, and so did Michelin and countless other businesses across our state, because we didn't make them shut down. So when it came time to start up, if you know anything about me, business is where I came from. My husband and I started a large national company, and the very first time I was serving was as lieutenant governor. I wasn't even president of my high school class. So business was very important to me. And my husband, if he was here today, would tell you that day after day, I would go into his office and say, why does government never bring business to the table? Why does government never ask business to come in and use our expertise to solve problems? Well, probably one of the proudest moments of serving with Governor McMaster is when we were trying to get everything restarted here in South Carolina. And the governor said, I'm going to put together a 30-day task force, and I'm going to bring people to the table. I'm going to bring business and associations. I'm going to bring higher education to the table. I'm going to bring our health system to the table. And we're all going to sit down and we're going to figure out the best way to move South Carolina forward during this difficult time. And he said, I'm going to go one better, because the governor truly believes in transparency, that all of you should know how money was being spent, how budgets are being devised, and where money is going to. So he went to SCE TV and he said, I want you to televise all of our meetings so every South Carolinian can see what we're doing. And that's what we did. And I mean, what a game changer that was for our state, because we got input, not just from state leaders, but local leaders on how we could help parts of our state who were so tremendously impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Really our coastal region, right? Where hospitality and tourism played a huge role. We funneled money that way. We made sure that as we were coming out of COVID-19, we were reaching our northern states, ones that love to come to South Carolina to vacation, and really target on them, getting them back down here. And because of that, our tourism rate was 4% higher than it was pre-COVID. We knew we needed to protect businesses because businesses were so hardly hit. So
What did we do? We had some of the highest reserve funds for unemployment. We knew that was going to be hit heavy. So the very first chunk of money we got in from the federal government, we replenished those funds. So we wouldn't have to go back to business and ask them to do that. The governor also went in and made sure he froze workers' comp or unemployment percentage rates, because again, didn't want to go back to businesses who are already hard hit and have them have to pay more. We have 100,000 more employees today in South Carolina than we did pre-COVID. We have 69,000 jobs looking for people. We heard from businesses very loud that with all the money that was being circulated between state and federal government, businesses were having a hard time getting employees to come back to work. South Carolina was one of the very first states to write the administration and tell them that we would be stopping unemployment dollars, federal unemployment dollars coming into our state, because we had to remotivate people to get back to work. We couldn't have them sitting at home earning more money than they could working. So definitely helped with our hospitality group to get more employees funneled into the area. But as you can see, South Carolina continues to grow, not just here in the upstate, but across our state. The governor is focused on getting money sent to our technical colleges. And we have some of the most amazing technical colleges in the country. You know, I'm a mom of 3, and my oldest daughter went to the College of Charleston. But my middle son, who was probably God-given the smartest of all 3 of my children, did not want to go to a 4-year college. So I didn't realize when everybody started to have this negative connotation or the second-tiered option as our technical schools. But I was sitting at a lacrosse game sharing with parents that were friends of ours that my son Joey, and I can't tell you how much my kids hate when I say their names and talk about them when I'm talking everywhere. When I said he was going to go to Greenville Tech, I mean, the look of shock from people. And it was that like, oh no, did he not get into Clemson? Is he going to do the bridge program? I mean, it'll be okay. And I was like, he doesn't want to go to a 4-year college. And that's when I realized that we collectively all together have to stop that line of thinking. There are amazing degrees that are coming out of our technical schools. Mechatronics. Let me tell you about mechatronics, because I didn't learn about what mechatronics was until I became lieutenant governor, right? This takes mathematics and robotics out of our technical schools and puts it together. Those students are so sought after, they can barely finish their degree before a Michelin or a BMW or a Boeing grabs them up. They start out making $55,000 to $60,000 a year. And within 3 years, if they prove to be a good employer, making 6 figures. But the best thing is they have 0 debt. They're seeing in our technical schools that a lot of engineers coming out of Clemson are going back to Greenville Tech to get a mechatronics degree because it fits the gap that they didn't learn in their studies. People don't know about this, right? And so they continuously were looking at our technical schools as a second-tier option. So the favor that I'm asking all of you is when you're sitting in a sporting venue with your children or grandchildren, and you hear somebody getting that weird look of, why is your child going to a technical college? Tell them this story. Tell them that our technical colleges are turning out great careers. And I'll tell you, that's why businesses are coming here from all over the globe, because we can create a workforce for them that they so desperately need. We're continuing to try to fill the gap. So if we fast forward to this year, the governor has put a lot of money in his budget to funnel degrees through our technical schools, making sure that we can fill positions that we know we have big gaps in. Nursing, right? He didn't want to just gain more nurses. We needed to gain teachers to teach nursing. So he asked for $20 million, $10 million to go to scholarships for nurses, but another $10 million to raise the wage base of teachers that could teach nursing, to attract them out of the field. Because right now, traveling nurses are making $100 an hour because they are so sought after. Plumbers, electricians, truck drivers. I mean, we all know what the supply chain shortage is doing to everybody. And why is that? We don't have enough truck drivers out on the road. making sure the governor wanted to make sure we had scholarships for those. We want to make sure not just that we're trying to get people back working, we're trying to get them working in good paying jobs. And to do that, we have to skill them up. Here in South Carolina, only 43% of South Carolinians have a secondary degree or a certification. We need to get that number up to 68 or 69% to really function the amount of demand from businesses that are coming here. I was just in Israel about 3 weeks ago on an international trade mission. Because if COVID has taught us anything, we need to decouple from China. We need to start bringing innovative industries here. So we already lead the world in advanced manufacturing. Everybody knows that. But what we're starting to see is a huge trend toward the life sciences, the bio world. We have amazing companies like Nephron Pharmaceutical. You know, when I talk to high school and college students, I love to brag about South Carolina because sometimes I think you never appreciate everything that's happening in your own state because it's so close to you, right? Here in the upstate, we are making fighter planes with Lockheed Martin that are protecting our allies all over the world, South Carolina fingerprints. We're building Dreamliners down at the coast, South Carolina fingerprints. We have 26 boat manufacturers today here in South Carolina. When I was out at Scout Boat, they were building 2 huge boats that were going to be sent over to the Prince of Qatar, South Carolina fingerprints. Isn't it amazing? Sometimes I don't think we realize just what an amazing impact we have all over the globe. So I love to talk to young kids about that, why you want South Carolina to be where you live and work and raise your family. And the governor and I have vowed to make sure that we continue to diversify the industries that are here. So this amazing young student will want to stay right here in South Carolina, and I'm sure his parents want him to also, right? Because that's what we want for all of our kids, to have enough opportunity to stay here. The governor would also like to see education get turned around. He truly feels that money should follow the child, that parents should be able to guide the education that they want for their children. You know, we have seen that. I keep hearing the arguments on both sides on that. You know, a lot of people think if you do that, it will somehow hurt our public schools. But I'm here to tell you, when I sit down with Jeanette Nunez, the lieutenant governor from Florida, she will tell you that that was the game changer in Florida. That's what made education soar. Because by creating a competitive environment, everybody won. Everything got better. And parents who were in the most at-risk areas, single moms, when there was a chance that they would lose that school choice option, registered to vote, crossed party lines, and made sure that they kept choice within their sites. They feel that it was the game changer. So does Alabama. So that's what the governor's looking for. If we can't get school choice, he wants a funding system that we can all understand. Because I don't know about you, but long before I got in this position, I used to hate when people say, well, that's so complicated. I can't begin to explain to you. Because I would always be like, well, try me. Pretty smart. I'm an accountant. I think I could figure some stuff out. He wants to make it easy. State dollars only going to the classroom. So all state money should go directly to the classroom, directly to education. Buildings, extra, middle management staff, that would have to come from the districts. And then they can explain that to their constituents. So we're working hard on raising education. Education, especially early childhood education, is something I'm really passionate about, and so is the governor. The governor made sure he used his CARES money to make sure we got 4K across our state to at-risk students. Because if there's anything I can tell you, statistics have shown that it is much easier to bridge the gap when children are younger than it is when they get to high school. And that's where we see the biggest gap. It's hard to think that in parts of our state, we have children being raised by parents and grandparents who are illiterate, and they are. And so what's happening is those children are going into school at a disadvantage to their counterparts. So making sure we put in the funds for early childhood education to get everybody on the same page, to get the level playing field where it needs to be, will be a game changer for our state. So we continue to work on education. We have a lot going on this year. Just within the legislative branches, you probably have heard, we have worked on women in sports. That has gotten pushed through. The budget, looking at making curriculums in our public schools transparent so that parents know what's being taught in their schools. We have taken all tax off of state pensions for our veterans. This was huge. You know, South Carolina prides itself on being a military state. We have 8 military installations here in South Carolina, but they're not a forever. The federal government looks at what we do for our veterans in states that have military bases. And if we don't do enough, we're graded on that. They can start pulling those away and taking them to other states. So that's why we now have a Department of Veterans Affairs, making sure that we're taking care of our veterans. Now we're cutting tax implications on their pension plans. And we've also made a more robust advanced learning system for them. So when they get out of the service, they can take those GI Bills, come back to South Carolina without a stipulation that they've had to claim a residency credit, right? Because they move around an awful lot if they're in the service. But what we want them to do is we want them to come right back here to South Carolina because we know that they make good citizens and they make an excellent workforce. So that's why we want to attract them back here as soon as we can get them. So a lot of things happening in the State House, a lot of obstacles that we are trying to get over. We're at sign and die has happened, crossover has happened. The budget is being put in ink over the next few days. So keep your eye on that. It's amazing to see. It's amazing to be down there and see just how the delegation that you have here in Greenville fighting hard for the upstate and fighting hard for the principles and values of all South Carolinians. So I've said an awful lot, but I love answering questions. I can answer any kind of question you can ask me. Tell me something good that's happening, something you'd like to see changed, or just something you want to talk about. Look at you guys being all nice. I get third graders asking me tough questions. Come on, somebody's got to have one. Roads. Roads are always a good thing. So let me tell you, a lot of the money that came in the infrastructure package, the governor in his budget allocated to go towards roads. If the Senate and the House picked up that and put it into their budget plans, it would traject 6 years ahead of schedule all of our road construction. I sat down with Christy Hall not long after I became lieutenant governor and said, everywhere I go, I get hit with the roads question. Let me help you. What should I tell people when they talk about roads? She said, the first thing you should tell people is to go out to our website, SCDOT. It will give you a count of every penny SCDOT has collected on the gas tax, because everybody wants to know how their gas tax money is getting spent. And if you go into the next screen, it will give you by county, by road, what is on the docket to be fixed. That's all by priority. You can see what has been bidded out, what's in the process, and what is yet to come. So what she wanted to do by direction of the governor is to make that process transparent. So if you can go in by county, you can see what trajectory is going forward. We are really working on bridges. 50% of our bridges across the state have load restriction on them just due to their age. Those are also prioritized. And that is what we are doing, right? There's only so much money to go around. There's been talk of people wanting to repeal the gas tax because of high gas prices, which really does sound good to me, but it's that balancing act, right? If the money stops coming in, then road projects are going to halt. All we can do is say that there are more state roads here in South Carolina monitored by the state than any state per square foot. I mean, we can't have more roads in California, but per square foot, our state handles more of those roads. So we are working hard on it. Christy Hall is on top of it. I can assure you that nobody is putting their finger on the scale and changing the weight on that to make sure that it goes to their friend or their house or their road. A very close eye is being kept on that. But what I can tell you is here in South Carolina, the governor and I will never tout for defunding our police. We need more police. There is a shortage across the board. As far as crime goes, I mean, we do have crime in our streets just like we do everywhere else, but we do have a system where police are out there patrolling. Unfortunately, I think we're seeing it across our country. Proud to say that when riots were happening across our country, that did not happen here. Our law enforcement, I can't commend them enough, our sheriffs coming in on a ground level and talking to groups that, you know, want to exercise their right to free speech, making sure that's peacefully done in our cities. And we'll continue to recruit. As you might have heard a few weeks ago, the governor went to the Department of Admin and wanted to know where we ranked in paying our law enforcement officers on a state level. That's all we can do. Counties are at a different benchmark, but we are doing a pay increase for all of our level 1 police officers, hoping that will attract and retain people, making sure that they don't leave law enforcement. They also just passed a bill to let law enforcement that have previously retired come back into the profession without it hindering their retirement benefits, because that was a huge hurdle for them if they wanted to come back. So we're hoping between those two things, we can fill a lot of the open gaps that we have across law enforcement in our state. So we continue to look at that. I think it's just in a priority line. It's a wonderful thing, and I've had people down in the governor's office with me talking about it, especially up here in Greenville, coming up with a rail system that would get to the airport and kind of around the city and back. I think what we need to do, and something I was looking at heavily in 2019 and now need to get back to since everything is opening up again, is really talking about public transportation. So you can't talk about public transportation and you can't talk about affordable housing without talking about it all together. Because those things need to go hand in hand. And so I was doing roundtables across the state, getting input from our businesses. I think that's going to be key. But I think we have to get a much better handle on just public transportation before we take that next leap to high-speed rail. It's very costly. And I think, like you've heard about with roads, that's something we have to address. We have to address public transportation. We can kind of keep looking at that. But it's not a subject that's dead. It's something that keeps talking about, and how do we get federal money for that? And that's what we're looking at. What kind of grant programs come? How can we start the conversation? How can we start that kind of autonomous way of getting people around our city? So the good thing is we are going to have an income tax cut this year. It's just, how is that going to look? The House came in wanting to cut by 1%, take away the middle 2 tiers of taxing. The Senate is coming in, cutting, not getting rid of the middle 2 tiers, but taking a deeper cut and then giving a reimbursement check to every South Carolinian, because we have a $4.2 billion surplus. So taxes are going to get cut. It's just, how is that going to look after this weekend? And that's a good thing, because we do have the highest marginal income tax rate in the Southeast. We're competing against North Carolina and Georgia, our neighbors. North Carolina has cut taxes. Georgia has cut taxes. We have to. And with surpluses of $2 billion and now $4 billion every single year, that's money that can go back to the taxpayer. So there will be a tax cut. That's important. We'll continue to see how that goes. Just kind of in the years ahead, kind of fine tuning that, seeing where that plays out. But I can tell you that hasn't been a deterrent. We want to cut them. We have to cut them. But the good news is, if you look at U-Haul statistics, South Carolina is ranked number 4 for U-Haul drops. The other 3 states have 0 income tax: Florida, Tennessee, and Texas. South Carolina ranks number 4. So we are going to cut it, but the good news is it really hasn't stopped people or businesses from moving here right now. And it really is from the business side because of our pro-business stance we've taken. I mean, you had manufacturing that was totally shut down in some northern states. And we're feeling the effects of that with supply chain. I mean, you see what happens, with overspending. That's what we're seeing too. We have fought against, another big thing that you probably all heard about was convention of states, right? That was a big thing, especially here in the upstate, everybody talking about the governor signing in an order to do a convention of states if need be. And one of the things in that convention of states was a balanced budget and was stopping federal overreach into the states. And although in his opinion, being the brilliant lawyer he is, he talked about how it wouldn't be his number one way to rectify that, but there doesn't look as there's any sight in the near future that the federal government will rein in their own spending, right? So, people are coming to South Carolina because of that. Businesses across the globe. I mean, we're seeing more international businesses looking at investing here in South Carolina. And along with Tim Scott, I mean, with his opportunity zone plan, coupled with the governor's plan on taking the infrastructure money and taking it into those areas where we can put together a really robust package for somebody to come and actually put in a new business. I mean, let's take a look at BMW. When BMW came here, there was a lot of concern. My husband will tell me about it. That was kind of pre-me, where people were not so sure about BMW. Now we build more BMWs in the upstate of South Carolina than anywhere in the world. And just look at the tier 2, tier 3 investment that came with that, right? Because we gave opportunity. So we're going to look to couple that all together through commerce to give a lot of opportunity for other businesses to come. That's a great question. When I became lieutenant governor, everything changed. Okay, so I was the first lieutenant governor elected with a governor. Also, our duties changed. I do not preside over the Senate, and I am not in charge of Office of the Aging, but Office of the Aging came under the governor's cabinets. Those cabinets we spearhead jointly. So, we always look at that as far as funding. Most of the money that comes to there comes through the federal government into there. Connie Munn does a great job. We work with our nonprofits and our faith-based community to really put in programs. We know they were hard hit during COVID. Our senior citizens were some of the hardest people hit in not just our state, but in every state. So we continue to find roadmaps to keep all those plans going. A lot of it is just starting to reemerge, getting them back out to their senior clubs. They're usually hosted at churches. Their phone rings, all day long about how are we going to get, people that with dementia, like how do we get resources to them? So we continue to fight through those. We know that our population is aging. And so it's looking for collaborative ways to do that. The governor has a great saying, we have a 6-foot bed and a 4-foot blanket. And it really is our nonprofits and our faith-based communities that help fill in that 2-foot gap. And so we'll continue to work with them to see how we take those resources and funnel them out in the most efficient way possible. Well, thank you all so much for having me here today. It was wonderful being in the upstate. I hope I answered all of your questions, but please always feel like you have a direct line to me. Reach out to me, call, text, email. I pride myself on trying to get back to everybody within 24 hours. I may not have a solution, but I always know somebody that does have a solution. So thank you so much. My door is always open.
Oh, perfect. And as is our tradition now, we'll be making a donation to Alexander Elementary's library on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so much. The book is Blanca Flor, A Folktale from Latin America. So thank you. Before I get into all of the closing comments, which all but not too many, we've been recognizing our members who have been bringing guests. And so we have a drawing and a gift card. And so Scott, like since you're right front center. John Kent is our member who just received a $25 gift card to the Swamp Rabbit Greenery Cafe. Our Rotary is also very involved with Alzheimer's research. So on the table are the cart buckets. So please empty the change at least right out of your wallets, make that donation. Cara Hamilton, our district representative, is encouraging everyone right this month to make an effort to continue to contribute to CART. And currently, I think our club is donated over $3,200, $3,400 since July through your efforts. So thank you for that. So Victor, so exciting, right? And we're excited. I'm sure your parents and grandparents are extremely proud. But for us now, we're going to journey with you at least for over the next 4 years, and hopefully for a time after that. I sat next to Victor at a scholarship luncheon, the first we had, and it was well attended. But to sit next to a young man who, from his earliest ages, I love math, I love science, and I was like, oh, so not my subjects. But to see that he's kind of fulfilling that passion, living that dream, right? And the fact that you are making things happen are super exciting for you. So we're privileged to have you with us. Thank you. Also, District Governor Frank Cox. Oh my gosh, so excited that you came today, that you can participate in us recognizing Bill. And Bill Wonder, right? 70 years, but then I loved Caroline's, and there you were Saturday. So you are truly a Rotarian of action. And you are, and a great example and a challenge to all of us, right, to be more active on our parts. To our Lieutenant Governor, I love like bragging about our state. I've only been here for almost 5 years, but bragging about our state, but I really thought a lot about raising our awareness and our appreciation for the challenges, but everything that we continue to strive to do to better ourselves, to better our state, and for businesses coming in. So thank you for taking time today, right, spending that time with us. And then for our guests, love to have you as Rotarians. We have Discover Rotary meetings, which can help you learn more about us, kind of put you onto that path. You can reach out to Michelle, who's our executive director, and she can certainly assist you. Or if you're invited by an existing member, just ask them what's next, right? We'd love to have you. So again, people of service. So here's what we have coming up for membership. For the month of May and June, we're going to waive our $200 registration fee. So hopefully that'll be additional incentive for people to become members. Very involved in education. So May 5th, we have a teacher appreciation lunch at Welcome Elementary. It's one of the ad hoc project or schools that we've been involved with. And then Alexander Elementary, which is a school that we have a very strong partnership. We'll have a teacher appreciation lunch for them on May 6th. And we are seeking other volunteers to come help with that day. Keep in mind, May 10th is no meeting because May 12th is the Peace, Conflict, and Resolution Conference. And the district has been extremely supportive in trying to make this a huge success. And actually on their committee are members from other Rotary clubs in our area. So a huge initiative there. So please, if you haven't signed up, and invite others to join you. May 13th and 15th is our district conference. It's up in the Rock Hill area. Would love to have more members involved. If you can't attend the 2.5 days, at least consider coming on that Friday or that Saturday. They've got training sessions on the Friday, a lot of open sessions on Saturday. It's a great opportunity to, again, get more immersed in Rotary as well as deepen some of those connections. And then for another ad hoc project, we just, Laura's in the room, but we were involved with Project Period, which again, due to your donations, we have monies in Rotary charities that we can submit requests to assist, and through your own personal donations, but those monetary funds, we were able to help out with that project as well. So with that, again, thank you to all of our guests who came today. Hopefully you enjoyed the program, and thanks for staying a little bit over with us, and everyone who's online, appreciate to have you. So if you stand, we have a 4-way test. We have a banner over there, words up on the screen, so please join us. For all the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? With that, thank you for being here today.